Welcome students. In this video lecture, we will discuss some important questions related to topic respiration. So let's start students. First question is that why is diffusion insufficient to meet the oxygen requirement of multicellular organisms like us? So student, in answer it is written that in unicellular organisms, only single cell is there that is in direct contact with the environment. So oxygen from atmosphere diffuse into the body cell directly. But student, in multicellular organisms, all the body parts are not exposed to environment, especially the cells which are present inside the body. So deep-seated body cells cannot get oxygen through diffusion as cell-to-cell diffusion is very slow. Therefore, multicellular organisms, student, need some specialized organs such as lungs for breathing and obtaining oxygen and a system to distributing oxygen to all the body cells. So what is the conclusion? That in case of multicellular organism, diffusion is not sufficient to meet the oxygen requirement because we have many cells and many cells are deeply seated in the body. Next student, second question is what advantage does a terrestrial organism have over an aquatic organism with regard to obtaining oxygen for respiration? So students, we know that terrestrial organisms take oxygen from the atmosphere and oxygen in the atmosphere is how much? That is 21%. On the other hand, students, aquatic organisms take oxygen for respiration that is present in water in dissolved form. And how much oxygen is dissolved in water? That is just 2%. So very less amount of oxygen is present in water. Therefore, aquatic organism has to breathe fast to fulfill their oxygen demand. Whereas in our case, because sufficient amount of oxygen is available in the environment, so we breathe normally. So what is the advantage with terrestrial organism have? That they respire oxygen from the atmosphere, and in atmosphere ample amount of oxygen is there, thus they breathe normal as compared to aquatic organism which breathe very fast to complete or to compensate their oxygen demand of the body. Next question student, how is oxygen and carbon dioxide transported in human beings? So student, oxygen की बात करें तो oxygen is transported 97% with the help of hemoglobin, whereas just 3% is transported in soluble form through plasma of the blood. In case of carbon dioxide, student, 7% is transported in dissolved form through plasma, 23% by combining with hemoglobin, and rest 70% in the form of bicarbonate ions. So oxygen is transported by two ways. Majority of oxygen by the combining hemoglobin and very small amount, that is just 3%, in dissolved form through plasma. Whereas carbon dioxide transported by three ways. Majority of carbon dioxide is transported in the form of bicarbonate ions and 23% by combining with hemoglobin, and just 7% is transported in dissolved form through plasma. Next student, how are lungs designed in human beings to maximize the area for exchange of gases? So what happens student, in case of lungs, there are millions of balloon-like structures, and what these balloon-like structures are called? These balloon-like structures are called alveoli, and they have extremely thin-walled epithelial cells and possesses the network of dense blood capillaries for exchange of gases. So in this way, the number is very high, and alveoli are next thin-walled, and they're in direct contact with blood capillaries. So these all adaptations help them to exchange gases properly. The alveoli students provide a vast area for exchange of gases. According to one estimate, a total surface area of alveoli of human being lies about 80 square meter, and 80 square meter is a large area. It is equal to approximately one tennis court. So such a big amount of surface area alveoli are providing for better exchange of gases. Next question student, what would be the consequences of deficiency of hemoglobin? So to understand the answer for this question student, first of all we should know what is the function of hemoglobin. So hemoglobin is responsible for transportation of oxygen because it has an ability to combine oxygen along with it. So in our body student, hemoglobin provides oxygen to the tissues and the cells of the body for respiration, and under respiration what is formed? That is energy. So deficiency of hemoglobin student, if occurs in the body, then this condition is called anemia. And in anemic condition student, less amount of oxygen is transported, which result in insufficient production of energy. And when there is an insufficient production of energy, then such anemic person, student, feels weak and lethargic and get tired doing even normal physical work. So what would happen if deficiency of hemoglobin is there? First, less energy will be formed, and due to that less energy, the anemic person feels weak and lethargic and get tired doing even a normal physical work. That's why it is recommended that a person should have good level of hemoglobin, because hemoglobin is responsible for transportation of oxygen, and if oxygen will be transported properly in the body, then sufficient amount will be found in the body for various metabolic activities. Next question is very important, student, that when a sports person run, he get muscle cramps or he get tired. Why? So students, what is the reason of muscle cramps? That muscle cramps occurs when muscles respire anaerobically. Student, generally our body respire aerobically, but in case of muscles, when there is shortage of oxygen, then they start to respire anaerobically. And when they respire anaerobically, then what will be formed? There is formation of a chemical that is called lactic acid. And students, if lactic acid accumulates in the muscles, it causes muscle cramps in sports person. So in muscles, when they are respire aerobically, then sufficient amount of energy is produced, then there will be no muscle cramps. But when there is a shortage of oxygen in muscles and they start to respire anaerobically, then lactic acid will be formed, and then it will cause muscle cramps in sports person. Next question, student, why do fishes die when taken out of water? So answer is, student, fishes require oxygen for respiration and they utilize oxygen dissolved in water through gills. The gills are the respiratory organs of the fishes. Gills do not know to take oxygen from the air present in the atmosphere. So when taken out of water, as gills are not modified to take oxygen from the air, so therefore fishes are unable to obtain oxygen and thus die. So why fishes die? Because when they are taken out from water, gills are not able to obtain oxygen from air and thus ultimately they get die. Next, student, how does gases exchange takes place in lower plants? So student, in lower plants, exchange of gases takes place through the general body surface as they are not highly modified or specialized. So in lower plants, the exchange of gases takes place to the body surface. Next, student, which part of plant is involved in gases exchange? So there are many parts that are involved in gases exchange. In leaves, there may be stomata, that are tiny pores present on the surface of leaves. In the stem, there may be lenticels, and the general surface of the roots also helps in exchange of gases. So in case of plants, in leaves, stomata helps. In case of stem, lenticels are there, and in case of roots, the general surface helps in exchange of gases. 10th question, student, what are lenticels? So lenticels are the term, student, that are associated with the body stem. So in body stem, the entire surface is covered by bark which is impervious to gases or water. However, there are certain, student, openings or pores that are present in the layer of bark, and these openings are called lenticels. Student, these are visible as they are more raised than the general body surface of the stem. And at the base of the lenticle, student, are loosely arranged cells which allow the diffuse gases to pass in and out. So at the base, they have loosely arranged cells which allow the diffuse gases to pass in and out. So in this way, in body stems, lenticels help them for the exchange of gases. So with this, student, we have completed all the important questions along with their answers associated with the topic respirations. So these all important questions, student, you have to note down in your fair notebooks as well. So with this, student, our this video lecture is over. We will meet in next video lecture. Till then, take care. Thanks.